It's the Rules Lawyer, and I continue my Pathfinder Law School series where I teach the system and talk about why I think it's awesome. Here's my series so far. In this part, I'm going to talk about character creation. It'll begin with an overview of how Pathfinder structures character creation and advancement, and then I talk about how Pathfinder has allowed for more customization, has streamlined the process, made it easier, and also lessened the gap between players who optimize and those who put their character first. I want to deepen appreciation for the decisions Pathfinder 2e made, and I think that other tactical TTRPGs can learn from it. Ronald from the future, adding that this video is going to be split into 2 parts because otherwise it'd be too damn long. I am Ronald, I am the Rules Lawyer. I am a lawyer who also is a veteran game master for Pathfinder 1st and 2nd editions, Starfinder, and D&D 5th edition. I also taught an after-school, middle school RPG class for 8 years, so I have experience in teaching. So let's begin. People know that Pathfinder allows for a lot of character customization. This is from a few years ago. This is artwork that one of my 12-year-old players gave to me for his character. It's a Leshy, a plant creature that also was part SMR and had angel wings. In Pathfinder, you can have a lot of off-the-wall concepts and find mechanical choices that express exactly what you're looking for. But a lot of people conflate that with complexity and having to spend a lot of time in making your character. It definitely has more choices than D&D 5th edition, but making characters is not necessarily harder, which is shocking perhaps for people only familiar with one system. In 5th edition and other D20 based systems, there's a fear that if you don't look at all the options available to you and have some concern for the power of your character, that your character is going to fall behind. You can come in with the idea that you'll have a very unique or crazy concept, but it's a challenge to express that with the mechanics while not falling behind the rest of the table. In Pathfinder, you can actually walk in with your concept first and pick choices that fit that concept and not fall behind. We'll go into why that's true during the deep dive later in the video. So we'll do an overview of character creation in Pathfinder via a specific example. Now, if you're looking for advice on choosing your class, this is not the video for you. There's actually another video that I did that I'll have a link to in the video description. The first step in making your character is to choose your concept, and then we go through the ABCs of character creation, as Paizo likes to call them: ancestry, background, and class. And then I've continued the mnemonic with more letters of the alphabet. D is for don't forget your 4 attribute boosts that will make sense when we go through the process. E is for equipment, and F is to fill the rest. So what is our concept? We have a goblin named Droog. He was destined for greatness. He lives in a forest-dwelling tribe of goblins who respect him for his wisdom and his ability to train goblin dogs for them to ride. However, his tribe was enslaved. His captors were careless, a fire broke out, and he escaped. Due to his great luck and a fever dream he received, he's convinced that he is an agent of Sarenrae, the goddess of fire and truth. He is now a religious zealot, committed to freeing his tribe, while riding his goblin dog, of course. So our first problem is that he is a goblin, and goblins get an ability flaw in wisdom, and that is the main ability for druids. We will see, however, that you can choose any ancestry in Pathfinder and not have that hobble your class choice. So let's look at the number of choices you have at level 1 when making a character in Pathfinder 2e. Overall, it's not many more steps. We have a side-by-side comparison. D&D 5e has you choose your race, a sub-race, background, and class, and possibly a subclass at level 1. Pathfinder has the same steps, except you add a feat, an ancestry feat from your ancestry. Nearly every class gets a subclass choice at level 1, and if you're a marshal, you get a class feat at level 1. So at a glance, it is not many more steps compared to D&D 5e, so I wanted to get that misconception out of the way. Making a character also has the advantage that Paizo puts all of its character options out for free. All of the rule options are free on the Archives of Nethys website. Just Google 2e and type in any rules element you want, and it's going to be a top result. There are free digital tools out there that have all of the options available for building your character. Path Builder is free. You pay $6 as of the time of this recording to unlock variant rules, but otherwise it has all of the classes and feats from every published book to date. Note that when you're starting out with these digital tools, I recommend limiting yourself to the core rulebook so that you're not overwhelmed by options. Wanderer's Guide is also very popular. There is a subscription service from the company that designed D&D Beyond called Demiplane Nexus that supports Pathfinder 2e and other systems. And also there's Hero Lab Online, which is based on a combined subscription and pay per book model. Also, Dyslexic Character Sheets makes very pretty character sheets that you can make for free on their website. And if you support their Patreon, you can save your characters, and also it auto-calculates the math for you. When learning a system, I personally prefer to use a paper character sheet at first so that it forces me to learn how everything adds up. The official character sheet is much maligned for its visual appearance, and it also uses up a lot of printer ink. The newer version is much cleaner and will be coming out with the Player Core Remaster this November. A couple of versions I like are Pixel Patch's character sheet, and another one by a Justin. I found this very functional, so I'll have links to those in the video description. The core rulebook has this very nifty spread of all of the ancestries and classes that shows all of their key ability scores and secondary ability scores of each class. Very useful and also visually appealing. Now for determining your attributes, formerly known as ability scores. Well, you don't roll dice. Sacrilege! You start with the 6 scores we are familiar with from D&D and 1st edition Pathfinder, but you start with a 10, now just the modifier is what we look at in the remaster, of +0 in each of the 6 scores. And the steps of A, B, C, and don't forget your 4 boosts, at each of these steps you get a set of changes to your 6 attributes. So let's go back to our goblin druid, Droog. Well, as a goblin, he gets the following things. He gets 6 hit points. You get hit points from your ancestry, in addition to the hit points you would get from your class level. You get everything else here, which is pretty straightforward, including ability boosts in dexterity, well, attribute boosts in dexterity, charisma, and 1 free boost. This gets to go into any of the 6 scores that you do not already have a boost in. Very important. In each of these 4 steps, you cannot boost the same score 2 times. The way it plays out is that Droog gets boosts in dexterity and charisma, a flaw in wisdom, and his free boost can go anywhere that he does not already have a boost. He's going to put in wisdom. Well, if we went by these rules. His player can also just take the option of doing what humans get, which is to get 2 free boosts in 2 different scores. This makes things simpler and allows him to get that +1 at this step that he wants in wisdom in order to maximize his spellcasting as a druid. So he will do that. So he'll get instead 2 alternate free boosts that will go into wisdom, and also because he is such a leader, that other boost will go into charisma. Now, with the original goblin modifiers, he could have gotten this +1 in wisdom. There is a way, but it would have required using what are called legacy optional flaws, which I won't go into here because this is more straightforward and simpler. Okay, so he has chosen Goblin, and the next step is to choose his heritage, which is like a subrace in Pathfinder 2e. He can choose from these options in the core rulebook. There are 5. But the player kind of gets inspired looking through Archives of Nethys or some books and sees that this heritage mechanic is actually, in Pathfinder, an opportunity to graft another concept onto your ancestry, in this case being angelic or an Aasimar. Through the versatile heritage mechanic, there are heritages that let you be part Aasimar or Tiefling. And our character, Droog, definitely was visited by an agent of Saren Ray, and therefore chose Aasimar as his versatile heritage. Aasimars are uncommon, so that means the player would need to get permission specifically from the Game Master. It's not that these options are more powerful, it's that the Game Master might find it disruptive to their campaign world, which gives him dark vision, which is something he already had as a goblin. That in itself is kind of a waste, but still, it unlocks all of these feats for him for the rest of his adventuring career. Feat, you say? Yes, at level 1, you also get an Ancestry feat. They get more as they level up, and that feat can come from this list or from the Goblin list. This is what's available in the core rulebook. But what he's going to do is take the Aasimar feat, Muse Touched, to reflect that he is somebody who is trying to liberate people from bondage. It gives him a bonus to escaping from bonds, basically. All right, so the next step is his background. And there are 40 backgrounds in the core rulebook. However, they're all represented by single paragraphs. They're quite short. Droog, because he escaped from bondage, is going to have the prisoner background. And we can see here what it gives you. 2 attribute boosts. So one of them has to be in strength or constitution. He's going to choose strength so that he can impress other goblins. And the other one is a free boost. That's going to go into his wisdom. He gets 2 skills. One of them is a lore skill, which is kind of a subset of knowledge. And he gets a skill feat. Skill feats unlock abilities from a specific skill, in this case stealth. It allows him to smuggle things on his person when walking past the guards more easily. Skill feats are often pretty situational and give a little splash of flavor mechanically. So when we go back to his attribute scores, we put those bonuses and we see his now updated modifiers to the right. The next step is his class, and he's going to choose the Druid. And we're about to see why Pathfinder players often recommend that migrants from D&D start at level 1, because you get quite a bit of things at level 1 in Pathfinder. You already feel like your character. You already feel like your class. He gets everything on this page, including a boost to his wisdom. He gets 8 more hit points and gets to add his constitution modifier, so he's going to have eventually 14 hit points. And he gets all of these proficiencies on the right-hand side. So he gets that boost to wisdom, and when he fills out his character sheet, he is going to fill out his proficiency bonus in the right places. His bonus will be 3 in things that he's trained in, because it's his level 1 plus the 2. He then goes to the advancement chart, and he gets all of these things that are listed for level 1. A number of these things we already went over: ancestry and background and initial proficiencies. He also gets primal spellcasting. He gets to get spell slots that he can prepare spells in every morning. And he gets an anathema. Actually, in the remaster, they're removing the restriction about metal armor and shields. And these are other things he may not do as a druid, or else he loses his magical abilities. He gets the druidic language, which is going to be renamed Wild Song with the remaster. And he gets a druidic order. This is the subclass for the druid. His choices are animal, leaf, storm, and wild. And because this player wants to ride a goblin dog, he can do so starting at level 1 by choosing the animal order. This gives him an animal companion. He's going to choose the stat block of a wolf, which he can easily reskin to be that of a goblin dog. And he gets a focus spell, Heal Animal, which lets him heal an animal with a focus point, which he can restore with 10 minutes of refocusing between combats. Lastly, as a druid, you get Shield Block. It's a reaction that lets you, if you raise your shield, soak damage with your shield. And Wild Empathy, the ability to interact and communicate in an elementary way with animals. To help you navigate all these choices, the core rulebook provides you with sample builds that give you suggested skills, orders, feats, and spells to prepare. Your class also gave you proficiency in a number of skills, including Nature, 1 skill determined by your druidic order, and then 2 more plus your intelligence modifier. So that's why we need to finalize our attributes next. With a higher intelligence, you can get more skills in this game. So don't forget your 4 boosts. We put them into 4 different scores. We're going to put them in wisdom, of course, charisma, of course, 1 in intelligence, because you cannot be a leader without coming up with some clever schemes, and also dexterity, why not? So we can be a little better at dodging projectiles. So we now have our final attribute modifiers here. To check your work, make sure they add up to 9 at the end of this process. So here's the skills section of the upcoming character sheet that comes out with the remaster. From his background of being a prisoner, he's going to be proficient in stealth and underworld lore, so he fills those out. From being a druid, he gets trained in nature, trained in 1 skill determined by his druidic order, which in this case is going to be athletics. Then in 3 additional skills because of his bonus to intelligence. That will be in diplomacy, so he can convince his minions to follow him, intimidation, so he can convince his minions to follow him, and of course religion, so he can preach the gospel. Then, just as in D&D, he puts in all of the modifiers from his different attributes, and for everything he's trained in, he's going to put the number 3, and then add everything up at the end. Also, his +1 intelligence gives him +1 bonus language, and being a goblin gives him access to this list, and also other languages to which you have access. And the player talks to the GM, and the GM says, well, yeah, since you got visited by an agent of a goddess, sure, you can know Celestial. Next is E for equipment, and you start with 15 gold pieces. And 1 gold in this system is kind of equivalent to 10 gold in D&D. So To make things easier, there are these class kits on page 289 of the core rulebook, and also in Archives of Nethys. You can find the link at the top of each class description. For the druid, you get these items, with some options. Droog is going to get these items, but instead of leather armor, he wants a little more defense. Druids are proficient in medium armor, and he can choose hide armor in this case. Now there is a little complication in that he does not meet this strength score, so that means he's going to have this armor check penalty applied to some of his skills, and also the full speed penalty to his speed. So this will affect his skills, and the character sheet lays out which skills will get that armor check penalty. So that will modify his numbers. Of course, if you're using a digital character sheet, all of this will be done automatically. Okay, then F for Fill the Rest. And we went through a lot of these already. The most easily forgotten things are finalizing your skills and your languages. And then we also fill out the statistics for armor class, perception, saving throws, and attacks, and so on. I then put Droog into Hero Lab Online, which I have an account for. And that's what it looks like, and there will be a link in the video description if you want to download this yourself. And by the way, all of the statistics are predetermined for the Animal Companion, and which of course is easier if you're using a digital tool. So leveling up. Leveling up is much simpler and quicker than making the character. You only have usually 2, at most 3 choices when you level up at every level, but you get choices, unlike in other systems. This chart shows all of his future class features. All of these features are explained in the Druid section of the book. Also, your proficiency can go up from trained. We saw earlier that there are other higher levels above trained. You can be expert, master, even legendary. And at fixed levels, it's predetermined when your perception increases from trained to expert, when your fortitude makes the same increase. At 7th level, you go from trained to expert in your spellcasting. And we see similar increases in your proficiencies fixed at these levels. Basically, the basic math of your character is determined by the game. You rarely get to change these. Next to that fixed numerical progression, you just get many feats. And this is a diagram I made for some of my players showing if you were to imagine it as a stacking set of blocks, every time you level up, you get to add more of these feats to your abilities. At every even-numbered level, you get another skill feat and a class feat, as you can see. At 3rd level, and every 4 levels after that, you get a general feat, an ability that is not limited to a class. Things like getting more hit points, better initiative. Because skill feats are a subset of general feats, you can also choose another skill feat at this time. Skill feats unlock new uses for your skills, and they get more amazing as your skill proficiency increases from trained to expert to master to legendary, which you can do at level 3 and every 2 levels afterward. You get to increase one of your proficiencies to one of your skills. And when you're increasing your skill, you can only raise things up to expert, no higher, until you get to 7th level, at which time you can start to raise things up to master. You cannot raise anything to legendary until you reach 15th level. Also, simultaneously, at level 5 and every 5 levels after that, you get 4 more attribute boosts. Every time you get a set of 4, they have to go into different attributes. Note that you get these in addition to all of the feats that you get. You don't have to choose one or the other. So what happens for Droog at level 2? He levels up, he gets to add 1 to his spellcasting DCs, his armor class, all of his weapon attacks, all of his saving throws, and all of his skills that he's proficient in. He gets a class feat and a skill feat. There's a list of Druid feats in the core rulebook that he can take that are all sorted by level. There's a set of Druid feats that are level 2. And there's also some Druid feats that are level 1. He can take any level 2 Druid feat or a Druid feat from any lower level. And one thing he could choose is Order Explorer. Remember those subclasses we looked at earlier? One of them was to be able to wild shape frequently using a focus point. He could get part of that subclass's abilities with this level 2 class feat called Order Explorer. This would give him another focus point and let him wild shape, turn into a pest form. This is basically tiny versions or baby versions of animals. He can take more Druid feats later to increase the ability of his wild shaping. However, Pathfinder also gives you the option of not taking feats in Druid. This is how Pathfinder does its quote-unquote multi-classing. There are things called archetypes in this system. Think of them as themes. Some of these archetypes are actually multi-class archetypes that give you some of the abilities of another class. So you could take the fighter archetype or wizard archetype, or something that's not associated with any class, such as acrobat or archer. He will have to give up a class feat from druid in order to take an archetype feat. Because he's on a religious mission for his people, he is going to choose the Blessed One archetype, which gives him the ability borrowed from Pathfinder's version of the Paladin, the Champion, called Lay on Hands. It gives him a focus spell called Lay on Hands to give some modest healing to somebody, and because it's a focus spell, he can restore it with 10 minutes of refocusing, and heal people at will throughout the day. He can take the Blessed One dedication at level 2. When he can next get another class feat at level 4, he can forego a druid feat and choose Blessed Sacrifice, a level 4 Blessed One feat, which gives him another focus spell. The theme of all of these feats within Blessed One is to heal and protect his allies. There's a bunch of feats for the champion class that are also available to him that give him rider effects, beneficial effects on his Lay on Hands ability. What archetypes are essentially are a new feat tree that opens up if he takes that dedication feat. One thing that is more complicated in Pathfinder character creation is that a lot of these archetypes have prerequisites that you want to plan for in the dedication feat itself. For example, if you want the wizard archetype, you'll need to have an intelligence of +2 or higher, which actually is true in D&D 5e, but there are other archetypes that have different requirements. The other thing he gets is a skill feat, and so he can choose, because he's trained in diplomacy, to be very good at insulting people, to distract them by getting personal. That's a fun one, and they can only recover from the insult by trying to insult him back. Or because he's trained in intimidation, he can ignore the language barrier that is usually associated with trying to terrorize somebody with your words. He can avoid the -4 circumstance penalty. With intimidating glare, he just gives them a look. So that's our glimpse into how you make a character in Pathfinder 2e. There are more steps, and as you can see, you can really customize your character in great detail. But I would argue also that it's easier if you worry in other systems that your character build will underperform in a combat. And I'm going to go into why that's true in this next part of the video, where I analyze why I think character creation is awesome. And that will be in part 2 of the video, which will be coming out tomorrow. There'll be a link in the description and at the end of this video. I'll go over the design decisions Pathfinder 2e made, compare it to other systems, and talk about why multiclassing had to die in order for characters in Pathfinder to thrive. And if you want a walkthrough on actually making a character, you might enjoy something I made really early in my channel before I learned a lot of things I know now, but it's more hands-on and goes through making a character with a paper character sheet. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also ring the bell to be notified about the future law school courses when they come out. And also join my Discord, where we are now over 4,000 people talking Pathfinder, other games. You can also play Pathfinder 2e because of the drop-in play system we have for the system. Also support my Patreon if you want early access to Rules Lawyer videos and get exclusive access to a number of videos, including me teaching and running Pathfinder 2e for D&D YouTubers. So that's it. I've been Ronald the Rules Lawyer. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.